Welcome to the show, Xavier Boderiou. How are you, sir? Are you well?
Good, good, very good. And you?
I'm very excited to be talking to you because we're about to get into something that I've been looking forward to for a long time.
Nice,
And that's
nice.
all I'm going to say. But yeah, before we get into all of that, first of all, the last time we were talking with you, you were talking about your business was going so well that you were considering expanding. And how have things been since then?
It's still a work in progress, but it's a tricky question when it comes to business size because you have to think about it. It's going well, so that's a good thing. But you also have to think about how do you want to expand your business. And I'm not sure if it makes sense in English, but I can't picture me just managing a business. I want to keep the link with the machines. Working at the lathe is great for me, anyways.
Yeah.
I like the small things also, small hand turning and key work on the Highland pipes. So it's a little bit different than the Highland bagpipes,
Hmm.
but still very interesting. And I want to keep that link instead of managing a group of people. So the idea would be to bring at least one people, one maker. But we got actually work for at least two full times.
I see.
So
Yeah.
it's going well. But my partner is a Breton language teacher, and she's about to be at the workshop like three-quarter time or something. So it's
Right.
yeah, she's working at the lathe too, and it's going very well. So we might want to postpone a bit hiring someone because it's quite hard to hire someone. You have to find the right person
Hmm.
who is very dedicated to pipe making and everything. So yeah, it's a matter of time, I think.
Yeah. So you're what you're explaining there is that you're really hands-on with the actual craftsmanship of it, the hands-on, the product, and
Yeah,
working at it,
yeah,
rather than the business end of it. Like
e- ex
managing a business. Yeah.
exactly. It's managing the business is a good side too, but I much prefer to work at the workshop, uh, drilling and reaming stuff and cutting wood, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's all about that for me.
That's it. And they are two definite, very different parts of it. I do understand that. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So, well, I wish you every continued success because we have been a huge fan of your website currently. The amount of variety that's on offer here is incredible. So, for those of you watching the video right now, we are looking at bordereau.com. This is like a one-stop shop, Xavier. That you have so much stuff on here.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not making everything. It's all about selling stuff and making stuff too. So it's a bit of a mix between both.
Mm.
But I felt like actually that's the 15th year this year I set up
Wow.
this business. So it's back in 2008.
Mhm.
And the idea at that time was to have, as you said, a one-stop shop for piping in Brittany.
There you
And
go.
yeah, it's English translation there.
Well, that's it. Yeah, we're looking at the
Yeah,
English version right now.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I have to ask you about one of the products that I have, especially in your drumming line, right? It's
Yes.
the drumsticks. I've only just discovered these. I had no idea that you have your own line of drumsticks,
Yeah, I actually
Bordeaux sticks.
I I had my own drumsticks, but since a year or so, it became a bit difficult to get the actual wood at a good price.
Mm.
So that's discontinued actually in a few weeks, but
Oh,
they were great apparently, as a few bands was
there you
saying here.
go. Yeah, so
But
I am very curious. So yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I've only just discovered them, and now they're going to be out of stock. But
yeah,
you
I
have
know.
some of the usual big hitters here. You've the KP2s, you've the Reed Maxwell, Stephen McWhirter, Stephen Crichton. All the big names, and then you have yours in there too. So I was
Yeah,
absolutely fascinated. But another thing I needed to ask you about your website is these drone reeds, redwood reeds. Can you tell us
Yeah,
a bit about these?
it's actually the first. It all started with that in 2008. That was the first project I had, because I started making drone reads when I was 14, yeah,
Hmm.
14 or 15 years old, and I was making cane drone reads,
Yeah.
and it was going well. And at some point in Scotland, when I was playing with shots at that time, and also competing for solos, I had well, it became a bit of a challenge to play these cane drone reads because I had to play with a band in the morning, for example, and solos in the afternoon, and it
Yes.
was a bit too much for the cane drone reads, I felt
Hmm.
actually.
Yeah.
So I started looking at the synthetic drone reeds, which I never played before, and I was, well, quite disappointed at that time because I was so used to the cane sound,
Yeah.
and I
That
really wanted
warmth that you
to
get with cane drone reeds. Yeah. Hmm.
exactly, and the vibrancy. I'm not
Mm.
sure about the term there, but quite some. Um, it was a brilliant tone actually. So
Yeah.
I wanted to catch this tone, but at the same time to get the like easy to set up read. So
Hmm.
I started with to look at the easy drones and many brands at that time, and
Hmm.
it came to my mind that there was something to do with wood, like a wooden body of the reed,
Yes.
and carbon and glass fiber tongs blades.
Hmm.
So I started to make those with a manual milling machine and manual lathe at that time.
Hmm.
And it was going actually very good because the wood absorbs moisture unless
Yeah.
like glass fiber or plastic bodied reeds.
Mm.
So I found them very reliable and very well sounding compared to the brands I tried at that time. So
Yeah.
I actually started to make them and letting a few friends know, and they liked it too. So I started to invest in CNC machines and bigger lathe like that.
Hmm.
I got six of them right now, so it's a bit crazy now. But so it's all started with this redwood drone reeds, and it expanded with the chanters, the bagat chanters, the band chanter, the solo chanter, and
Yeah.
the pipes and Ulan pipes now. So
That's it. So you absolutely have every possible accessory that you would ever need for bagpipers, but also for drummers as well. And these drone reeds, absolutely, I'm very curious because, as you say, at the moment I'm playing. I think it's Easy Drone. I think I'm using it at
mhm,
the moment.
mhm.
But yeah,
They're okay. They're okay too. It's
they're
there's
okay.
something
Yeah,
for
that's it.
everyone. But the idea there was to get a closer
Hmm.
cane sound, the closest sound you could have, and also the like the a very easy read
Mm.
to set up. That was the main goal there.
There you
And
are.
actually, there's a new version of these Redwood drone reads coming like in a month and a half or something. So
Oh, I
small
will.
tweaks, different carbon, different glass fiber, and slight tweaks on the wooden bodies, and
Right.
to just to make sure that they're even more compatible with many brands of pipes. So
There you go.
that was
I
a
like the
main
sound of
goal.
that. So it's constantly developing, I guess, always tweaking and working at little things in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole thing I like with this job is keeping looking, keeping making stuff, and yeah, I was currently making well, finishing or a set of Ulan pipes there. So
Oh, I see.
it's all
Yeah.
made by hand there. It's ugly, quite ugly because it's unfinished. But yeah, many parts to do in a set of Ulan pipes for sure. But
Mm.
on a set of Highland pipes too, and chanters make takes time to make too. So it's yeah, I'm busy for sure.
Yeah, well, that's no bad thing for sure. So I know that sounds like one big giant plug and advertisement, but I couldn't recommend it enough. Absolutely. If you are any way curious, go and check out the website. We'll have a link below in the show notes for sure. There you are. So, well, I know you're incredibly busy with your own business and your own craftsmanship, but you're also quite a prolific musician in your own right. And what I've wanted to talk to you about is the new album. You've been putting it out in social media that you've been recording little bits. How have things been going with the new album?
It's going well. Actually, it's recorded now. So the big thing uh, is done. But still, when because I'm producing the album myself too. So the thing there is to actually make the album. So I have to well to print it out, to take pictures,
I
to
see.
edit
Yeah.
everything.
You're doing everything yourself here. Like there
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
a
yeah.
production company behind you that
No,
you're
no,
doing it all yourself. Yeah.
it's just myself. And for some reason, actually, I got another workshop there. So there's one workshop here and another one like I can ride a bicycle and go there. So it's like
Yeah.
1 minute away from here, but there's so much space there. And for some reason, I just took my pipes there and it sounded very good. So I was like, there's a slight something in the sound here. So could
Mm.
I catch the actual sound of the album here? And apparently, well, fingers fingers crossed, but so far so good, I think.
Well, I think for our listeners' benefit at this point, you've sent us some little tiny clips of a little sneak preview of very much a work in progress because, as you say,
Yes,
there's nowhere near finished yet. But
no.
let's hear a little sneaky clip of what you're actually working on right now. There you go. A little tiny snippet of Tessa's Jigs. I think we call that track. Is that right?
Yes, it's a suite of three jigs there, and the first one is called Test Jig. That was a tune I composed right after my daughter was born. So that's a jig for her. And afterwards, very traditional Irish jig called the gold ring. So it's
Mm-hmm.
a eight-parted jig, which is very famous in the Ulen piping uh, scene, and even in the fiddle world too.
Mm.
And the last one is called the Whitby Runaround or something.
There you
It's a
go.
jig called it was composed by Michael Gray, I think. And
Uh,
it's an old jig I used to hear on an SFU album back in the days. I think it's a Carnegie Hall. album.
I think that's the one of, yeah, I was going to say, I think I remember hearing it in one of their
Yeah,
big
yeah.
albums. Yeah, there you
It's
go.
quite of a vintage tune there.
Yeah. But whenever you were mentioning earlier about capturing that kind of sound in that room, even
Yeah,
from now, like I know this is definitely a work in progress, but you can absolutely hear it, like the resonance in that
yes.
room. There's something special about that. Is that something that you really did try to capture?
Exactly. Just because I tried, there's plenty of studios here and very good studios in Brittany. And even like 5 kilometers from here, there's a very, very good studio. But
Mm,
for some reason, I did some testing like a few years back, and I felt that the pipes, it has to it has to be this posture of the pipes or the sound coming off the drones and the chanter too. But I felt like being in a studio which absorbs a lot of sound.
yeah.
The pipes sounded like a bit synthetic to me,
Hmm.
like a mic very close to the chanter, a mic very close to the drones, or two. It missed something at that point, and the sound engineers told me, "Yeah, but don't worry, we'll add some reverb and everything." But I
Yeah.
was like, "Yeah, but what if we try to keep just a bit of that reverb, sorry, and we
Hmm.
try to that's my way of taking sound. Obviously, it's getting very very close to the instrument, and also." I got two ambient mics actually, two vintage, very good 70s in ambient mics, and they try to capture the resonance as well. So that's the tracks I forwarded you
Hmm.
are completely unmixed. There's nothing added. It's just rough takes for now. But
Yeah.
for some reason, it's a mix between resonance and closed sound as well.
I
And
see.
so that's I'm trying to capture anyways.
Well, I think you've managed to achieve that. Absolutely. It sounds fantastic. And we will play another little clip before we go. But yeah, I think you've definitely achieved that. Now, you did mention
Perfect.
that you are based in Brittany in France. So can you tell us then a bit about that Scottish connection with Brittany? We are aware that there's a wealth of traditional music there in Brittany, but tell us, how did it all begin? Like, is there a huge Scottish connection there in Brittany?
There's I would say that there's a huge well, I am not sure about the word, but Celtic connections.
Hmm.
If you want to like the festival in Glasgow, but it's there's something about traditional music in Brittany for sure, and connections with Irish music, Scottish music, even music from Spain too, from Galicia. So even back in the 70s, I would remember that my parents in the North Finisterre, so in Brittany too, they would bring bands from Ireland at that time, and even in a small town like 150 people in Brittany, like where my parents live right now, there was this huge band from Ireland coming every 2 months or something.
Hmm.
So I think this connection with Ireland and Scotland too exists for a long time in Brittany. But when it comes to Highland bagpipes, it's fairly new actually, and it
Oh.
came in, yeah, because Highland pipes took off around the 50s, 1950s in Brittany. So
Hmm.
bagat bands were still developing at that time. So it's bagat bands are like 60 or 70 years old, which is fairly new,
Fairly recent. Yeah, yeah.
fairly
But
recent. Yeah.
the scene in Brittany at the moment, honestly, is absolutely thriving. Like there are thousands of people involved in the Celtic and folk music scene there in Brittany. Do you know, is there a particular reason for it?
Um, yeah, it has to be linked with the Festnos tradition. The Festnos is like a Kelly or something. It's a gathering of a group of dancers, so then dancing traditional dances, and also traditional musicians. And these Festunos in Breton language exist for like 100 years,
Hmm.
maybe 200 years or something. So these festivals are very, very strong and lively in Brittany for a long time. So you got this festivals world, which involved many, many like bagpipes, binucos and bombard players, and also
Mm,
singers. You got the bagad bands in every small town in Brittany. You got a bagad band. So and
yeah,
you got these professional musicians too now which are involved in many, many groups. So it's quite diverse right now, and there's many, many good bands and musicians in Brittany. Hopefully, well, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Oh, there is for sure. And I know now there's a big attraction actually for a lot of UK musicians to go and play in Brittany at some of these huge festivals, just because the music is so beautiful.
it's very different, and that's the main point. I think Scottish music is very, very interesting, but Breton music is too, I think, but
Mm,
not for the same reasons. It's so some people in Brittany used to say that Scottish music would are really is very interesting, but it's very straightforward and you don't have to be out of the box or everything.
yeah,
But it's not true actually. It's as lively in Scotland than here in Brittany, and there's that a bit of there's something positive out of every music, and that's the interesting point there, I think.
absolutely. Yeah. Now, we do know that a lot of the Highland pipe music in Scotland is very much based in the military tradition. Like, we have a lot of marches and things like that.
Yeah,
But in Brittany, as you say, we have a lot of different regions. All of those have their own associated dances and songs
exactly.
and all of that. So seeing the meeting of those two worlds, I don't know, it's so refreshing. We're starting to see a lot of music from the Brittany scene being played by competitive bands here in the UK.
For sure, for sure. And that's the main point too. It's creating bridges between both cultures. And that's very interesting to see like Scottish players coming to play with bagat bands or even folk bands playing in Lorient or Quimper here. It makes things very interesting for us in Brittany. And
Mm,
also, it's good to see Breton or even French players going up to Scotland to compete there, even for solos or band. So
absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Well,
I wish more Breton players could go to Scotland, but
there you
it will
go,
happen for
and make
some.
that jump. Yeah, well, you're
Yeah,
a prime example of that. You've played in the top flight yourself and have had that experience, I guess. So you would recommend that other players do the same?
for sure. Yeah, yeah. It's very interesting to do that every time, and it's just realizing that you're not the only one to I got there was a young guy from Quimper there like saying he was at some point he was very, very good and a very
Mm,
good player, and I was like I was judging a competition, solo competition,
mhm.
and I was yeah, you're good, but there's so much room to improve, so you have to improve on this, on this, on this. And he was like, oh yeah, but it was disturbing for him, I think. So
Yeah.
I was like, go up in Scotland. You'll see that yeah, there's 200 players like you. So there's so many things to do and to improve. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, it's one of those mediums where constant improvement is very
Yeah.
similar to your own craftsmanship, I guess. You're always working on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a passion, really. Yeah.
There you are, yeah, and that definitely does seem to be a big passion with the people who are involved in the music in the Brittany scene. That they're so knowledgeable and really seem to love it, and that really comes across.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a very, very strong tradition, and actually, more and more young people here, young pipers and drummers, are starting to teach the instruments. So there's a whole generation of pipers
Mm.
that are now ready to teach it. So it's professionally. So that's very good. And
Oh, fantastic!
yeah, I wish a bit more pipers would be interesting in craft making too. So
Yep.
that
There you go,
could
and
be a
I could
leader.
get a job helping you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Indeed. So, have you any details then? We'll go back to the album, really. Have you any details of what the title will be? When will it be released? Anything like that?
I think because it's all recorded, so the last I'll mix it too, and I want to involve one of my friends called Sylvain Barou. So he's a very very good flute player, and
Hmm.
he's also a very very clever sound engineer. So I want him to do the mastering for the album.
Right.
And afterwards, I may release a crowdfunding stuff in May or something, and the album will be out in October,
I see.
next October.
Excellent. So,
Yeah,
well, keep us posted on that crowdfunding, and we absolutely want to try and help you there because, yeah, that we've got another little clip to finish with, and if this is anything to go by, this album is going to be magic. But I'm going to get in a final plug before we go. If you aren't aware, then please do check out the website we've been looking at on the video here. So it's bordereau.com. Go and check it out. Honestly, there's a wealth of material on here. So if you're involved in the scene at all, then there's going to be something here for you. There's even online tuition and clinics and workshops available, and everything related to the bagpiping world is available on this site. There you are. A huge plug. Good stuff. So, Xavier, I have to say a massive thank you for joining us on the podcast this week. And you're an incredibly busy man. So, thank you for
thank
taking
you,
time to talk.
thank
And
you, thank you. That's a
yeah,
pleasure.
so let's work in this final clip then. This is called the Done Deal Reels. Tell me about these, and then we'll hear it.
So the first reel, I think I composed that when I was still a student. So it's back like in 15 years ago, or maybe more than that. So it was it's a good tune. Well, I like this tune anyway because it helps to warm up the fingers there. And after that, there's a reel composed by Chris Armstrong, but I can't remember the name of it. So I have to contact Chris and so he could let me know about the name of the second reel.
There you go.
He
If he's
composed.
listening, I'm sure he can comment. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Because I need the name of this tune. And the last one is a reel I composed last year or 2 years ago, I think. So
Ah,
yeah,
there you go. Fantastic. Well, Xavier, let's hear this clip then. But thank you so much for joining us this week. I really appreciate it. Thank
thanks.
you.